The diner was buzzing with the usual lunchtime chaos. Plates clattered, the coffee machine hissed, and the low hum of conversations filled the air. Among the regulars and passersby, a young waitress named Emily moved with practiced ease, balancing trays and flashing polite smiles. She loved this rhythm, the small victories of remembering names, bringing comfort, and earning a smile in return. Today, however, the air shifted when a tall, sharply dressed man stepped through the door. His presence demanded attention without a word. Emily recognized him immediately. A billionaire known for his temper and impatience, often making headlines for business deals and outbursts alike. He walked straight to a corner booth, his eyes scanning the room with an intensity that made people lower their heads. Emily approached cautiously, trying to maintain her professional composure. "Good afternoon, sir. What can I get for you today?" she asked, her voice steady despite the tension she felt. The man's eyes narrowed as he scrutinized her, like a predator sizing up prey. "You," he barked, pointing at her directly. "You don't earn tips." The word struck Emily like a physical blow. She had faced rude customers before, but there was something in the force behind his tone that made the entire diner tense. Other staff froze, unsure whether to intervene or keep silent. Patrons glanced nervously between Emily and the billionaire, the clinking of silverware suddenly seeming too loud. She swallowed her rising anger, forcing a polite smile. "I'm sorry you feel that way, sir," she said. "Can I get your order for you?" Her voice didn't tremble, though her heart pounded in her chest. The man smirked, leaning back, clearly enjoying the discomfort he had caused. "Don't apologize. Just know you're not worth a tip. Not today, not ever." Emily's hands tightened around the order pad she held. She had been working here for years, often picking up extra shifts to support her younger brother. Every tip, every smile, mattered. To hear someone with no understanding of her effort reduce her to not worth it was infuriating. Yet, she forced herself to remain calm, because she knew that losing her composure would only give him satisfaction. As she took his order, she noticed his bodyguard hovering nearby, scanning the diner, hands ready to act. The billionaire's arrogance filled the room, but Emily's mind raced. She wasn't just a waitress. She was observant, clever, and capable. She had seen this kind of arrogance before, the type that left men blind to consequences. A plan began to form. She jotted down his order carefully, noting every preference and request. "Of course, sir. I'll have it ready shortly," she said, her tone calm, almost soothing. The man's smirk faltered slightly, though he didn't admit it. Emily walked away toward the kitchen, her mind racing faster than the orders she relayed to her co-workers. From the corner of her eye, she saw her colleague whisper, "Are you sure about this?" Emily nodded ever so slightly. She had to act quickly, and she knew exactly how to turn this situation around without losing her dignity. The kitchen staff, sensing her determination, prepared the dishes with unusual care, guided by Emily's precise instructions. When the meal was ready, she carried it out with steady hands. The billionaire's eyes followed her every step. As she set the tray down in front of him, she leaned slightly closer, her voice soft but firm. "Sir, there's a small note included with your order," she said, sliding a folded paper across the table. He looked puzzled, but opened it anyway. The note contained a simple message, typed neatly. "Your actions today were noticed by everyone in this diner. Courtesy and respect cost nothing but mean everything." His eyes flicked up at Emily, the first hint of surprise crossing his face. A murmur ran through the diner. Patrons watched in shock as the billionaire's confident smirk faltered. Emily's stance was calm, her expression composed, showing no fear. The note was not meant to demean but to reflect his behavior back to him, quietly and effectively. The man's bodyguard stiffened, sensing a shift in the atmosphere. Emily's courage and wit had not only captured the attention of the room, but had made a statement that no amount of money could overshadow. People whispered among themselves, inspired by her bravery and the way she handled someone so powerful with dignity. The billionaire's cheeks tinged with red, a subtle acknowledgement of his own embarrassment. He glanced around the diner, seeing the disapproving faces of the staff and customers alike. Emily remained calm, letting silence amplify the impact of her words and the notes she had delivered. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, he spoke, his voice quieter than before. I wasn't expecting this," he admitted, his arrogance dimmed, replaced with an unfamiliar humility. Emily simply nodded, collecting the empty tray and maintaining eye contact, her composure unwavering. It was in that moment that everyone realized something powerful. Courage, intelligence, and integrity could hold their own, even against someone with immense wealth and authority. Emily had not only stood her ground but had turned the situation into a lesson for the entire diner. Her colleagues exchanged impressed glances, whispering quietly about her bravery. Patrons pulled out their phones, some capturing the moment, some sharing the story. The diner had become more than a place to eat. It was a stage for a quiet but profound victory. Emily returned to the counter, a subtle smile on her face. The billionaire sat silently, clearly reconsidering his attitude. She had not allowed his words to define her. Instead, she had transformed his insult into an opportunity to command respect. Her courage had been noticed not just by the patrons, but by everyone in the room. The room's energy shifted, from tension to admiration. Emily had demonstrated that respect is earned through character, not money or status. And in that moment, the diner witnessed something rare. A young waitress showing that dignity and cleverness could influence even the most arrogant of men. The billionaire leaned back in his seat, his expression unreadable but thoughtful, a silent acknowledgement that Emily had won this round. Before leaving, Emily leaned slightly toward the billionaire, her voice calm but pointed. "Have a good day, sir," she said. He nodded, a gesture of respect, though small, that spoke volumes. The scene left everyone in the diner in awe. Emily had shown that courage, intelligence, and respect could hold their own against wealth and arrogance. She had flipped the power dynamic entirely, earning admiration from everyone around her. The diner returned to its usual rhythm, though the energy had changed. Patrons whispered quietly, stealing glances at Emily as she moved gracefully between tables. She smiled politely, carrying plates and refilling coffee cups, but her mind lingered on the billionaire. Even seated alone in the corner, he no longer radiated arrogance. The man's eyes followed her movements, curiosity replacing irritation. He had faced countless people in his life, but none had confronted him with such calm confidence. Emily had not shouted, argued, or cowered. She had simply acted, and that action carried more weight than any confrontation he had ever commanded. After a few minutes, he stood, adjusting his expensive suit and walking toward the exit. Emily caught his gaze and held it, unafraid. He stopped near the door, looking back at her with a thoughtful expression, as if trying to understand her courage. She met his eyes evenly, her posture steady, showing no hint of fear or uncertainty. Finally, he spoke, his voice quieter but firm. "Wait," he said, and Emily paused mid-step. Patrons nearby stiffened, sensing that something significant was about to unfold. Emily turned toward him, her expression polite but unreadable, ready to respond if necessary. "I've dealt with people like you before," he began, "but not many have the nerve to handle me the way you did." He paused, searching for the right words, clearly uncomfortable with his own humility. "You're clever, brave, and," he swallowed, "respected." Emily raised an eyebrow slightly, intrigued but still composed. "Thank you, sir. Respect is mutual, though," she replied evenly, her voice calm but carrying weight. The billionaire blinked, caught off guard by her poise and the subtle reminder of accountability. He motioned toward the counter. "Can we talk for a moment? Just you and me?" Emily considered it, noting the subtle shift in his tone. He no longer spoke as a tyrant, but as a man genuinely seeking understanding, or perhaps a chance to make amends. She nodded, following him to a quiet corner of the diner. Patrons continued their meals, some stealing glances, sensing that a lesson in humility and courage was unfolding before them. The room felt heavier with anticipation. The billionaire took a deep breath. "I've always believed money and authority give me power over people," he admitted quietly. "But today, you've shown me that's not the case. You've earned something I rarely give: respect." Emily's lips pressed together in a faint smile. "I believe respect is earned through actions," she said softly. "Not money, not status, just actions." Her words resonated in the small corner, simple yet profound. He nodded slowly, the weight of acknowledgement settling in. For a long moment, neither spoke. The sound of clinking dishes and murmured conversations surrounded them, yet the two of them were in their own world. Emily felt no fear, only the satisfaction of seeing someone recognize the truth of her words and actions. Finally, he offered a hand. "I'd like to make it up to you." A gesture, a thank you, beyond words. Emily regarded him carefully, cautious, but intrigued. She had seen promises before, some empty, some meaningful. This felt different. She extended her hand, shaking it firmly. "Actions speak louder than words," she said. He smiled faintly, understanding the subtle rebuke. The gesture was genuine, grounded in the respect he now owed her. He left the diner, leaving a generous tip on the counter, not for compliance, but for courage. Emily watched him go, her eyes column a quiet satisfaction in her chest. Patrons whispered, impressed, some taking out phones to capture the tale of courage and integrity. In the days that followed, Emily's story spread. People talked about the waitress who had confronted a billionaire without raising her voice or lowering her dignity. She became a quiet legend in the local community, a symbol of strength, intelligence, and poise. The billionaire, meanwhile, changed. He returned occasionally, no longer to dominate, but to observe and respect. He treated Emily differently, acknowledging her with a nod, a quiet smile, and occasionally a word of gratitude. It was subtle, but powerful. Emily continued her work, carrying trays and serving coffee. But her confidence grew. She had proven something to herself and to everyone who witnessed her courage. Actions, intelligence, and dignity could overcome arrogance, even when backed by wealth and power. Patrons came not just for the food but to see her, the waitress who had earned the respect of a man who believed he had it all. She greeted them with a smile, her eyes calm, her demeanor unshakable, embodying the lesson she had taught without speaking loudly. In time, the billionaire learned humility, not through punishment, but through observation and recognition. Emily's actions had spoken volumes, teaching him that wealth does not grant respect and that courage and cleverness are formidable. Emily continued to move through her days with quiet grace, the incident becoming a chapter in her life she would always remember. Patrons, colleagues, and even the billionaire understood one simple truth: respect is earned, not demanded. And courage is a quiet force that can shift the balance of power. Her life remained busy and full of challenges, but she moved with confidence, knowing that integrity and courage carried weight far beyond any financial transaction. The diner became a place not just of meals, but of quiet victories, where small actions spoke louder than the loudest words. And for those watching the story unfold, it was a lesson they would never forget. In the face of arrogance and power, a calm intelligence and courage could leave the richest of men stunned. Emily's story was shared, remembered, and retold. Patrons who witnessed it carried the lesson in their hearts. The billionaire learned to respect, and the waitress continued her life, unshaken, confident, and victorious in a way that money could never buy.